All right, welcome everybody. My name is Jackie Meyer, and I'm very excited to present a topic near and dear to my heart today, the ROI method of tax planning. Now, as you start watching this, make sure that you join my Facebook group that we have thousands of accountants called Accounting Firm Influencers, where we can continue this discussion day to day if you do have Q&A. So just a brief little synopsis about me. I was a concierge CPA firm owner for 12 years. My firm was recently acquired by an accounting firm that is a coaching student of mine so that I could really refocus on my passions, coaching accountants to better their practices and to better their tax advisory services. And along the way, for some crazy reason, I decided to develop a tax planning software for accountants called Tax Plan IQ. And so some of the examples I show you today are from that software, but I'm also going to give you an Excel worksheet at the end of this that you'll be able to take and run with today for you to do this on your own, no matter what software you're using. So my name is Jackie Meyer. I'm in a suburb called Southlake, Texas of Dallas. I'm on several AICPA committees. I've been a speaker for many years since I've transformed my firm, which I'll tell you about today, and won 40 under 40 since 2018. I've got 1 year left. I'm also pursuing a doctorate in leadership to become a better leader to my team of about a dozen, and then also to help accountants do the same. So definitely follow me on social. It's mostly Jackie Meyer CPA. And if you tag me and tag something insightful that you got out of this session, we do a random drawing every quarter for you to win money or us to give to your charity of choice. So I would love to see you online. All right, so normally if I had an audience, I would be asking them this very important question to kick off. Who here offers tax planning? And what I'll say is I presented this at QuickBooks Connect a few years ago, and almost 90% of the participants raised their hand in the audience of about 300 people, okay? But then I asked them to keep their hand up if they feel like they get paid the value for their tax planning. And everyone's hand slowly went down. And they were not very happy because a lot of people are giving away these services for free or just charging hourly, which is not actually in the client's best interest or your best interest. Now, there are some terms I'll be using and expanding on today that I want to make sure we define appropriately. Those are tax planning, value pricing, and of course, the ROI method of tax planning. So what is tax planning? We all have a different definition. So let's say the client calls you up and says, hey, how do I deduct this car I just bought? It'll take 5 minutes for you to tell me what I need to do. Is that tax planning? Not really, because it already happened. Now, there are some things you can plan retroactively for, and so you could accelerate bonus depreciation maybe on that vehicle. And so it's kind of borderline tax planning. But true tax planning is proactively identifying strategies to reduce a client's tax liability. So it's not telling them what tax they owed from last year. It's not just projecting their tax due this year. It's not just answering random Q&A. So that is how I define tax planning, or tax advisory service is kind of the new sexy term for what we do now. All right, next term, value pricing. What is value pricing? Well, it's an upfront price for your accounting services based on the value perceived by the client. I have a flow chart that kind of jokingly walks you through if you value price or not. Value pricing is setting that fee up front based on the value you provide to the client. This is a combination for me of tax savings, ROI, and the competitive advantages, the intangible things that I bring to the table as a firm. Value pricing is not a fixed fee. So all of your clients are $500 a month or $800 a month or $1,200 a month. It's not buckets like that. Every single client is custom quoted based on the perceived value. You also collect an onboarding or implementation fee upfront And then you can have continued maintenance fees and put together this whole package that the client has with access to you and other things like that. So I tend to see with the hundreds of accountants that I work with and coach that some are kind of value pricing, but you're probably not doing it to this extent. And so I'm hoping to take you to the next level or convince you to convert to value pricing today if you haven't already. So you can walk through this little value pricing guide, see what you're actually currently doing. And then if you're adjusting the price to the perceived value, that is value pricing. And then if you're pricing quoted based on the tangible tax savings, even better, that is my ROI method. Now, I wanted to find the difference between a contingent fee, which is a no-no to CPAs, and value pricing. Contingent fees is the payment made, or is a payment made in the future based on refund results. That is a no-no from the AICPA. In value pricing, the payment is made upfront for advice, not for the results, and tax savings is just one factor of that value provided. I never guarantee tax savings to my clients, but you can guarantee their satisfaction. So I put a link here to the AICPA's website. I'm on the practice management committee. I'm on a new tax wow committee that works with the IRS to make our deadlines better. And I have presented this concept at AICPA conferences. And so I want to assure you that this is okay to do. There's also a pricing tool that the AICPA offers on their website. And it's essentially walking you through exactly what I just described. What's the annualized value? What's the financial impact? What are other perceived values of this engagement? And that's how you come up with your formula. I wish I could say value pricing is this exact formula, write it down, but it's not. It's very variable depending on what you bring to the table. Let's kick off with a case study of an accounting firm named Ryer Tax. No, I'm just kidding. It's my firm, Meyer Tax. And it was transformed through this process. I've had many coaching students and tax plan IQ users that have done the same thing too. But this helps you know why the heck you should be listening to me today and hopefully help you implement these changes. I began my CPA firm back in 2010. It was really to have a lifestyle practice and control my own schedule. I had done my time at Deloitte. I went to a smaller firm locally in Dallas, and I wasn't a great employee, to be honest. I'm better at being an entrepreneur. So I started my own firm. I resisted hiring anybody or more than like 1 to 2 helpers part-time until the big crash of 2014. And that crash was because I had my first child. And little Alexandra Noel Meyer came into the world on December 30th, 2013. And I was doing like 4 people's jobs, didn't get any time off from my firm, hundreds of clients. It was exhausting. And honestly, it kind of physically and mentally broke me. And I'm still working towards getting back out of that. But that's kind of the main motivator that I have to help other accountants. I don't want you to go through those similar issues and skip them all together if you can. So I did find a coach, which was the best decision I ever made in my life. His name's Chuck Bauer. We now actually co-coach together other accountants. I had a decent practice. I was making decent money, but I was just so burnt out. And so he asked me who I love working with and why. And based on that response, high net wealth entrepreneurs in my area, he said, let's develop packages around that and bring your ROI to the table. So I was able to refocus on what I love doing. And it was really, really exciting. So I took each client one by one. I made a list in Excel of like clients that I thought I could bring more to the table for. And I picked the top one. I went one by one and I pitched them my ROI method of tax planning. And I was essentially tripling, if not quadrupling, the fees I could charge. But even better, the client satisfaction that came to the table because I was doing something big for them. I was putting more money in their pocket. They knew I was going to manage the whole process, and they were very, very happy because of it. Then I actually sold 60% of my clients. So don't just fire them, sell them if you can, get 1 times the annual revenue. And I still ended up with quite a bit more revenue in 2016 and 2017 than I had many years before. And I was able to actually get my client time down every week to 4 hours a week once I hired and delegated appropriate things as well. So last year, we're running all smoothly and whatnot, and then we run into all the staffing issues and hiring problems that every firm's been running into. I had a coaching student accounting firm that was extraordinary, and she was interested in purchasing my firm. And so I bit the bullet. She acquired Meyers tax clients, and I sold 56 final clients for over 7 figures based on this method. So follow what I say, and you can get there too. Now, there were other benefits that I'm not even describing here, the intangibles, right, that aren't even measurable. Customer satisfaction, I mentioned we had a 9.8 average score out of 10, probably was 6 or 7 before that. Honestly, I didn't survey clients before that because I was scared. We had a specific measurable goal to reach for the client, and we would revisit that anticipated ROI every year in Tax Plan IQ. And that made annual increases and upselling and increasing prices easy peasy. Now, the team, while nervous about the change, was ecstatic to have better one-on-one relationships with each client and not worry so much about the clock, every 5, 10, 15 minutes. And so we were able to really pull together as a team and for our clients into a newer, better happiness model, a purposeful company, an engaged team, and delighted customers, which I think we all want at the end of the day. So how do we do this? Well, I did 3 steps. I analyzed what clients that I loved working with and I could bring the biggest ROI to the table. For me, that ROI is around tax planning. That is my jam. You might not be tax planning, but today is all about tax planning and how it's the easiest way to produce an ROI for the client. There's this kind of scale of services here. And you can follow my arm from like bookkeeping's down here, data entry, invoice payables, outsourced CFO services, and then tax advisory services is like the top most profitable and most valued advisory service out there. So you can apply this to any kind of advisory or niche that you want, but I really advocate for tax planning because of the benefits that it can provide. So I found that ROI. I examined my current client lists to see who I could help. I went one by one to sell them a package. I created what those package looks like. I had no idea what I was doing. It was probably like 70% to what we finished with last year, but you got to start somewhere. And so I went for it. I just did it. And then I created this ROI proposal. I made it really hard for the client to say no because it all just made sense. I can get you a 300% ROI or 400% ROI, and then learned as I went. But now I've made it so repeatable that you don't have to go through all those pain points of learning as you go. Now let's discuss what the ROI method is and why I developed it. The ROI method is value pricing accounting services based on the return on investment we get the client. That's a combination of tangible things like tax savings results and intangible things, unlimited email assistance, use of a Tax Plan IQ portal, quarterly meetings with the client, whatever you want to put into an ongoing package offering for that client. And as we have time at the end of the session, I can show you our package offerings. I'm an open book to share that with you. Or feel free to visit my website, meyertax.com/packages, and you can see the 3 different package levels and what all is included in those. That's not our focus for today. Our focus for today is how to get that ROI going. So we have our stages of this ROI method, 3 kind of high level stages: attracting the clientele, engaging them in tax planning services, and then delighting them with the results. But let's drill into that more. We attract the clients by analyzing their prior year tax return. So whether it's an existing client during busy season, you notice, hey, this is a Schedule C, and I think they would be better off as an S Corp. Or you see that they could do a different kind of entity change or depreciation change or cost segregation or qualify as a real estate professional. There's like 90 plus strategies and educational materials around those that we offer in the Tax Plan IQ library. So there's a lot you can do for a client. But what's funny is that it tends to be about 6 to 12 strategies that each accountant picks and runs with and kind of specializes in, and is able to figure out what that ROI is for them and their firm. And so it's not quite as overwhelming as having to memorize 90 strategies. Let's say this is a potential client. Ask them for their last filed return, and don't do a discovery meeting or any meeting until you've looked at it and pre-qualified them for tax planning. I always tell our coaching students, lead with tax planning. If you can't provide that 200, 300% ROI, do not accept that client if that's the direction you want to go. If you want to make $15K a year per client, $30K onboarding fees, et cetera. If you want high volume and lower quality, high volume, then that's a totally different session, right? But this is high quality, low volume work. Then you prospect them, they become your customer, and then they become your promoters once they love what you've done. And then diving even further into this graphic, we're identifying our targets while we attract them. You can do an email marketing outreach. We're noticing a lot of accountants have trouble marketing to clients, existing or potential. And so at Tax Plan IQ, we're developing a bunch of complementary materials to help you with crafting those emails and convincing people that this is the right way to go. You can ask the client further questions or send them an electronic questionnaire to clarify things. And then I actually create a proposal complimentary for the client. Sorry, some words got lost with me after I had children, but that's me. So take it or leave it, right? You prepare that proposal, you present it to the client, hopefully close the deal, send that e-engagement letter, present their timeline and implementation, get all their tasks together of things you need to do, and then follow up and make sure that you're revisiting that plan, what you said you were going to do, what you actually did, and then adjusting things year to year. Now, I show you this, it might seem obvious to some people, but a lot of people don't understand this flow at all or the order that it goes in. And so that's why I wanted to make sure it was in a visual for you. So let's walk through each of these steps in a little bit more detail for you to understand how it goes. Let's say we have a client, we're meeting with them, and you immediately identify some key missing elements to their tax situation. Now, this could be an existing client as you just finalized their 1040 for the prior tax year, or it could be a potential client. They're close to the top tax bracket. They're making over $500,000 a year, yet somehow they're still filing 2 Schedule Cs for 2 separate businesses. You identify some ideas. Hey, this one entity should be a C Corp, and this other entity should be an S Corp. And there's some other pretty big hitter miscellaneous business deductions that you could do too. Now, if we were live together right now, I would ask you to pop in the chat, how much would you typically charge for that work? And what people would respond with is maybe $500,000, maybe a couple $1,000 tops to help them with that entity setup and go from there. That's the typical accountant. No judgment here, because I used to do that too. I would blurt out all these ideas to the client when I'm meeting with them. The client would be totally overwhelmed, probably never accomplish most of them. And you end up just filing the 1040 and Schedule Cs for $1,300 a year with maybe an hour consult of another $200. What I'm proposing here instead is charging, proposing instead of charging hourly for the compliance and consulting is to consider the value you can and should bring to the table to give it all of your efforts and time. So we've identified that target. You might have a few follow-up questions, so you can do the email outreach or the questionnaire. And then it's time to pull together this complementary projection. So we're preparing this estimated tax plan with the ROI method. Now, tips here. Don't give away all the answers up front. Do that discovery session, email further questions, have them fill out a questionnaire to put together your strategic plan. But when you're asking questions like, hey, I'm thinking that we need to do a Roth IRA for your kids, and here's everything I know about a Roth IRA. Do you think you have $6,500 to put in that this year for your kiddo? No. That wastes a ton of time, and it's not impactful for the intellectual property you bring to the table. The question I would ask the client is, how much cash flow do you estimate you have towards retirement planning strategies this year, or next year, or the next 5 years, or the next 10 years? I know that's really hard for some clients to answer, but just get them to give you a general ballpark. And then you can craft the plan based on those answers. Make sense? So that will easily triple your revenue, equally decrease your time once you get the hang of it. It really only takes 15 to 30 minutes per client to put together this analysis. And state savings is also something you'd want to include. So we visualize the savings, we present the plan, we offer to implement the entire thing for them, and we make $10,000 investment in us instead of maybe $2,000. Clients over the moon, excited, happy with the results, nets $30,000 of tax savings this year, and you feel like you've really made a difference. Oh, and you can get rid of 3 or 4 crappy other clients as you increase pricing with the ones that you can actually bring value to. Win-win, right? Now, I know what some of you are thinking. I'm an accountant, remember? I'm just like you. Well, I don't have all top tax bracket clients. I don't have high net wealth clients. Good news. You can do this on a much smaller scale and still majorly improve your practice and your life. Let's look at another example that's ready to be presented to a client. Before we do that, I want to mention a couple other tips of things that I notice people are doing. When you do present that plan, make sure you ask for the close. This is the biggest mistake that I see with accountants. You do this amazing, wonderful presentation, and then at the end, you're like, do you have any questions? And the client's like, no. And you're like, okay, well, I got to run. I'll talk to you later. And the client's like, wait a minute. Was I supposed to do something here? How are we closing this deal? So just think of a particular phrase that you want to use. And I teach a lot more about this in our coaching programs for certified concierge accountant. But my phrase is, are you ready to move forward? And then another huge tip, if you want to send a client running, screaming for the hills away from you and never contacting you again, email them the proposal with the cost. That's not a good idea, okay? We're talking big numbers here. We want to see the person on Zoom or face-to-face and ask for that close on the deal. Here's our second example. This is a full ROI presentation that's produced in Tax Plan IQ. There's also a full tax planning report that you can give to the client once they've paid you the implementation fee of all the strategies, how they can help them, the eligibility criteria, the pros and cons, and additional resources. Producing something like this would definitely help you stand out. And it clarifies what is and isn't included in this phase of tax planning, so to speak. Notice something though in this example. This is just a different view that you can look at it number-wise versus the visual boxes. This is not a huge tens of thousands of dollars of savings tax plan. This is a $7,500 identified savings plan for someone in the 24% marginal tax bracket. Okay. And they priorly paid us $500 per year just to prep their 1040. Now, we're recommending that we implement these strategies, whatever they happen to be. In this case, it's a HSA maximization and retirement plan, along with a review of their other employee benefit packages. You could also offer unlimited email assistance, other things that you want to roll into an ongoing package to do their prep and advisory moving forward. So you can charge a $1,000 implementation fee, giving them an immediate ROI of 893%. And then what's nice is that these strategies are recurring year to year. So putting the client on a low package offering, maybe $200 a month, still nets them a 423% ROI for the next 10 years and over $70,000 net tax savings in their pocket. Pretty cool, right? Yeah, I love it. A third example in a different format. These are just different ways that you can view the information, different ways you might want to present the information depending on the software or platform you use. This example, we produced $30,000 of savings per year for an S-Corp election, hiring kids to work in the business, Roth contributions for the kids. You might wonder, how do you measure Roth contributions? Well, they're obviously not tax deductible, but the tax-free growth is the savings. And so what I plug into TaxPlan IQ is the $5,000 they're contributing at a like 8% market rate. And that's how I came up with like this $480 per year of annualized tax savings. So I bet you some of you are thinking, dang it, I do this all the time, and I am not charging appropriately for this. Now, there is one thing wrong with the way that this is showing. You never want to actually show the real strategies to the client when you pitch them. This is your, again, intellectual property. So you show them by category instead. So instead of saying wages, hiring kids, accountable plan, Roth, SEP, it would be, choice of entities, fine, miscellaneous business deductions, retirement planning. Those would kind of be your three main categories that you would show to the client. Then you've got, in this case, a $6,400 implementation fee, monthly maintenance fees of $625 per month, net return on investment for the client of $24,000 in year one, and a 418% ROI. And then over the next 10 years, you've got $300,000 that you've saved them by helping being their concierge and implementing these strategies for them. Okay, so we've walked through these stages here, identifying the targets, preparing the proposal, presenting the tax plan, closing that deal, sending our e-engagement letter, collecting ACH is another great tip. Make sure that you're doing everything on ACH first of the month, and collect that implementation fee and first month's fee before you start any work. I don't care what their excuse is, you have to collect that money before you start work. Then you can present the client with a timeline, 30, 60, 90-day timeline of things that are going to be happening. Those are the most critical points in the engagement for them to feel like they're making traction, so to speak, with their plan. And then you can add tasks. So using your project management system, using TaxPlan IQ, you can create tasks for the different strategies involved, add goal task dates, assign things to the client to do, and then assign things to your internal team to do. And then again, always make sure you're following up and revisiting that ROI. So annually, I provide a tax strategy meeting to our top elite clientele. And we see, okay, we estimated 30K of savings. What did we actually get you? And then we talk about if we need to adjust their package or increase their fees or anything like that. And I tell you, the only time in the past 4 years I've had a client complain about pricing is when the 1 or 2 times that we never got that annual meeting scheduled for them to see that visual ROI. So be careful with that and make sure and get that meeting on the calendar. I actually ask them to do it in their post-tax steps. When I send them their 1040, I send my eCal link and ask them to schedule this meeting within 3 weeks. And then I've got them allocated very evenly throughout tax season for these meetings instead of all in November, December. As a tax planner, some of you realize like December tends to be the busiest month, more so than April sometimes because of 12/31 cutoff for strategies. And so this is a way to really even that out throughout the year. All right, now I've got one more example. This is kind of a full presentation that I wanted to show you how I would walk through it with a client, because I want you to have all the steps for success. So we kick off with, hi, Dougie, this is a customized presentation just for you. Please note that this is intellectual property, and so you are not allowed to share it without my consent. You may even get them to sign an NDA before you do your presentation. But going back to the slides here, here at Meyer Tax, we design tax planning packages and tax advisory services using the ROI method and this software called Tax Plan IQ. And what it does, it allows our firm to accomplish so many things above and beyond for our clients. Asset protection, retirement planning, business entity formation, tax loopholes and credits. We're never going to do anything illegal, but there is a lot of gray area in the tax code, and we will leave it up to you. We'll present you with the aggressive side, the conservative side, and then you make that final decision on that legal strategy. We do income shifting and so much more analysis than you're typically going to see from just a tax compliance preparer. And unfortunately, most accountants are just tax preparers. And then if we can't do it because we're not an estate attorney, we're not financial planners, we'll partner up with your other planners and advisors, kind of like a quarterback on your team, to make sure that we're optimizing things across the board. Here's a random sampling of clientele and the results that we got. Now, this not only prepares them for their pitch, but prepares them for it to be a big number. So here I'm saying, okay, client one invested $23,000 in us. We projected $43,000 annual savings, and we actually brought $56K to the table. Client two invested $9,400. We projected $25K of savings, and we actually got them $30. So you're noticing a trend here. In a lot of cases, our initial estimate is very conservative, and we tend to be able to go above and beyond that. And if we don't, we're going to make it right with the client. Now, if it's the client's fault as to why we didn't implement the strategies, that's a whole nother issue. You have to reevaluate if that's the client relationship that you want. So, Dougie, I am so excited because I've identified an immediate ROI for you in tax savings of over 400% this year. And that nets you, or that gives you $30,000 in gross tax savings as soon as we do XYZ. And it's based on 3 categories of strategies: some self-employment tax items, which involves entity selection, income shifting between entities, fringe benefits, and retirement benefits. Now, every accountant asks at this point, the client's going to ask me what these strategies are at this point, right? So I say, do not get into the details. You say, that's what your implementation fee is for. You're not my existing client for tax planning. And so I cannot ensure that these are all going to be worthwhile strategies that work for you until you pay that implementation fee, which we'll talk about momentarily. And then I'll have 100% confidence in the strategies and be able to onboard you with them and tell you exactly what to do and when. And then what's even neater is that year 2 forward continues to give you about a 430% ROI based on those strategies. And then we'll look at phases of your plan. So this is phase 1, where I've got these 3 kind of main categories. We'll probably have a phase 2 of planning. We can do a year from now or 2 years from now and identify more things and do kind of a new expanded engagement. So, you know what I realized I'm missing here is the cost slide. So there's also, of course, the investment in us slide. So you would say, here's your investment in us, $9,800. After that investment, your final ROI is 418%. your net projected tax savings in year one is 30K or XYZ over the next 10-year period. And then you go from there to ask if they're ready to move forward, to close the deal. And so I like to have a congratulations slide where I'm letting them know next steps. They're going to get their e-engagement letter with an expiration date. I'm going to have them mutually agree with me on a deadline for this. If they can't decide today, right now, if they want to move forward, I can give them 48 hours or 72 hours, but you need to mutually agree on that. And you need to express the fact that you are very busy, you're at high capacity, and that you cannot honor this quote past that point. And if you want to give a satisfaction guarantee, then that's great. And you can request that ACH info and first month onboarding fee. And then we teach in the Certified Concierge program onboarding guidelines. So it kind of pulls together all these expectations and boundaries that you might have for your clients. And so we would schedule that onboarding session with them to go through those details and then go through their final tax plan. And that is our full cycle of the tax advisory service engagement using the ROI method. Now, I do have a gift for you. Whether you want to use Tax Plan IQ, get a free 2-week trial or not, I have an Excel worksheet that I will give you if you just visit JackieMeyerCPA.com/gift, and it mimics this ROI format. It's pretty manual, but it's still better than just doing tax prep and compliance and not making that extra value priced fee. So it's a great starting point for you. If you want all the extra bells and whistles, you want all the educational materials, the full customized presentations and the task management, then look at a tax advisory software that will equip you a little bit better than that Excel file. And I want to thank you for being here today. And because we do have a few extra minutes, I'd like to actually walk you through some of the package offerings that you can include for the client. So this is our Meyer Tax suite of packages. You can name it whatever you want. There's pricing psychology here and everything we do. So feel free to ping me, Jackie Meyer CPA on Facebook, Twitter, etc., to ask specific questions. But we always start with the top elite package, and then we go down from there. So our top elite package is pretty much unlimited service, unlimited availability. Sounds scary, but your best clients don't tend to take advantage of that. Their monthly fee would start at $800 plus. This is going to be your high net wealth clientele or very successful business owners that have multiple entities. And they want to contact you randomly with questions or a transaction, selling their company, all kinds of things that might come up throughout the year. And then you've got that custom quoted onboarding fee based on the ROI that you can bring to the table and some of these other intangibles that you're bringing to the table. They can request tax estimates anytime, but your frequency tends to be quarterly at the least. And then you've got all these competitive advantages that you bring to the table. So let's talk through what those are in this package. We include the compliance for their federal and state tax returns. We include a 24/7 cloud to gather, organize, and e-sign their tax docs. We use Count for that, count.io, but we're also working on integrations with TaxDome and Carbon and a lot of really awesome workflow providers this year. We offer video and screencast communication. So Google screencast-o-matic.com. You will be blown away with how easy you can record post-tax notes, record advisory services, record a response to a client that emails you, send it to the client, password protect it. They can watch it on their own time. You can make those videos repeatable if they're things that a lot of clients ask. Or you just kind of put it in the client's, own terms as to when and why they watch it. And the clients are really, really happy with that availability. We offer what's called a prioritized communication system. This is something I teach in coaching. So no matter what software you're using, email system, whatever, we all use a ton of apps, right? You can use this communication system where you're labeling things emergencies, urgent, or not urgent, and when you expect them to be completed. And that alone was just amazing for me and my firm, because I was so worried every time a client emailed me that they were so stressed out because they got an IRS notice or this or that, and I had to respond right then and there. And when you put these communication systems in place, they're giving you their expectation of when they want it done. A lot of times it's a lot later than what you would expect. You don't have to reply within 5-10 minutes. And you can reply back if their expectation is inaccurate and explain why and tell them when you're going to get it done. We also include a year-end planning guide, some tips and tricks there for the clients, and unlimited support with a dedicated project manager. That's an experienced tax accountant. It might be the same person that prepares the returns, or you might have a preparer level and then the project manager kind of overseeing all of the functions. That is so missing in accounting firms, the idea of project management. I did a session at Ensuring Success for CPA Practice Advisor recently. We talked all about project management. Google it, find it on YouTube. It's a great session on what you can do to really set yourself up for success at your firm. And then on that elite package, meetings with me, the owner, are available anytime as long as they're scheduled in advance. We include pickup and delivery service, VIP emergency access, which is an emergency text number that people never use, but love having the idea of it. We include IRS notice response. If I was redoing this, I would put a cap on that though. I would say like up to 3 IRS notice responses per year, or up to like 10 hours of IRS notice response per year. We offer an annual prepayment discount. You would be amazed at how many people want to pay you $40,000 up front just to get a 5% discount. We include financial and estate planning meetings with their teams and other advisors. We send a lot of fun gifts for our elite clients, and we provide audit protection. Then any amended returns, back work, and QuickBooks accounting work, or any kind of accounting package is quoted separate, or else it's going to eat away at your profit. All right. So let me take a step back. We'll walk quickly through our pro and basic packages, and then we'll wrap up for today. So starting from the beginning here again, our pro package is really for small business owners that want quarterly estimates. They don't need unlimited access to you, but you can give them unlimited email access and maybe unlimited phone calls, just not unlimited meetings. In the middle column here is the one I'm walking through. So still, they get that phone and email only support. They get all these other competitive advantages you bring to the table. They get one annual web strategy meeting, but not with me. They get it with their project manager and possibly a tax manager. That's shaved a lot of time off my schedule because I was doing a lot of these meetings. And then they get the IRS notice response, but they do not get audit representation and the planning with their estate and financial team. So that's a great question to pre-qualify a client up front. Hey, do you have an estate plan? Do you have a financial planner? Are there a lot of complex transactions that we might need to be a part of? Because that would be a reason to quote them on that top package. And then our last package offering is the basic. Okay, so we've got it starting at about $300 a month, custom onboarding fee, as always, an annual tax projection. I've actually kind of made this into biannual because I noticed these tend to be kind of high net wealth, but really simplistic 1040s that sign up for a basic package. And so we're not bringing a ton of ROI to the table, but they just want that peace of mind to have you as their concierge assistant. And so we try to go a little bit above and beyond and proactively touch base with them at least twice a year. And then give them those competitive advantages, email only support. And that's about it, what you get on that basic package. So again, you can go to meyertax.com/packages to see exactly how we have our latest and greatest there. But This is all about boundaries. Now, do you have to have packages to implement the ROI method at your firm? No way. I don't want to overwhelm you with all these things you have to do. So again, just take one client at a time, quote them an implementation fee for you to do that work, and then deal with packaging or annual fees later. You can always continue with your compliance fees separate. It's not that big of a deal as you evolve as a firm. All righty, so that's all I've got for you today. A few other ways to get a hold of me and some fun resources that if you are totally identifying with what I'm teaching and you're passionate about moving forward with the ROI method, I have a 10 days to closing a tax plan challenge that we have been doing a couple times, and we've had hundreds of people converting a client to tax planning and it greatly increasing their fees off of that one plan. And then it really sets them up for success to continue converting clients at their firm. So you can just go to any of my websites, taxplaniq.com, JackieMeyerCPA.com. There'll be a little banner that says you can be added to the wait list for the next one that comes up. Then we do have a tax planning masterclass. So if you're like, this is awesome, I love it, I've got plenty of clients I can do this with, but I don't know tax planning strategies, join our mastermind, taxplanningmasterclass.com. Or if you're like, I'm a tax whiz, or I don't want to do taxes at all, hopefully you do since you're in this session. But we have a more general best practice consulting that we offer at Concierge Accountant called the CCA Masterminds. And those are 6-month group sessions, small group sessions with Chuck Bauer and I to do your onboarding guidelines, figure out exactly how you're going to present and sell to a client, and all those other little things that I might have mentioned through the presentation that weren't super clear as to how those came about. And then last but not least, join my Facebook group, Accounting Firm Influencers, or there's an advanced tax strategies group. These are free resources for us to continue that conversation. And I also recently released a podcast called the Concierge CPA, and I would love to have some of you as guests. What are you doing well at your firm? So let me know, and we will go from there to get that scheduled and have a blast. All right, so thank you again for your time today and your dedication to this profession. It has been a pleasure teaching you about my passions around tax planning, and have a wonderful day. Take care.